Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Watson Michael. And once again, we are honored to have our recurring guest, Mark C. Crowley, back with us. He has been featured in Inc. Magazine's 2025 Top Leadership and Management Experts. Also, he's a regular columnist for Fast Company magazine and has been published in USA Today, Reuters, Forbes, Stanford Social Innovation Review, the Huffington Post, the Financial Times, and many more. Mark, great to have you back. How are you
Lovely to
doing?
see you, Watson. Lovely to be back with you.
Great. So before my first question, I wanted to also touch something. His two LinkedIn Pass articles on inspiring 21st century workforce and managing millennials have been read well over a million times. So yeah, great. So Mark, we're living in a digital age where AI is doing some tasks which people used to do, and some people have been laid off as well. And some tech companies are more interested in profits as well. Do you think AI has overtaken most tough parts of people in the corporate world, allowing them to focus on more meaningful work?
I don't think it's there yet. To be honest with you, I think that the technology is still like, I don't know if you use ChatGPT or Claude AI, but it has its limitations. So to take over somebody's job, we're really not seeing that. What we're seeing are technology companies using AI as an excuse to lay off thousands and thousands of people. And I personally think that the reason they're doing that is because they want other companies to invest in the AI. And the pitch that they're making to them is, hey, we're firing a whole bunch of people. You can fire a whole bunch of people if you buy our AA programs. And so it's pretty dark. And I think the orientation is to say that we can use AI as a means of eliminating jobs, which eliminates fixed costs, so you'll make yourself more money. But AI isn't really there. So the companies that are letting people go, they're saying it's because of AI because there's no one that's smart enough, experienced enough to say, well, prove it to me. Show me what jobs you're able to eliminate with AI. Nobody's asked that question. They're just taking it at their word. So I think the people that are using AI today, by the way, it's a very small percentage. It's really fascinating, but only 28% of people, at least in America, are using AI a couple times a week. So most people aren't even using it because they feel like they're training their future. Somebody's going to take their job. Basically, they're training the person that's going to take their job. That's the mentality here. So you've got these tech companies that are firing people left and right, blaming it on AI, which is creating terror in the workplace. So then other companies say, hey, go learn AI. And they're like, no, because you're going to use it against me. So it's this vicious cycle. And I think it would be much smarter if companies came out and said, we're going to use this as a tool. We're going to teach you to use it. It'll accelerate your work. It'll make you more efficient. I use it. I found that to be true. I'm not afraid of it, but I know nobody's going to take my job. But if you're working in a normal workplace, if the company isn't telling you that we're using this for good, not to use it against you, you're going to have a lot of people that are just going to say, I'm not doing it. And so you're going to spend all this money buying AI and not getting anybody to employ it.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Okay. Now, especially after the pandemic, topics related to mental health have increased. What are your views on that?
My view on that is we have had, this is an interesting statistic. In the last 10 years, we've had a decline of 24%, at least 24% decline in human interaction, so social interactions. So part of this was created by COVID because during COVID we couldn't go see anybody, and so we got used to having food delivered. We got used to streaming. We go on Netflix. We don't have to go out. Right? And so when COVID was over, we kind of got comfortable. We got lazy about that. But there's another aspect of it, which is our phones, which is that we're using them to communicate. And again, we're lazy. So it's easier to send somebody an email or a text than to pick up the phone and call them or say, let's get together for a coffee. It's just too much for people. But on top of that, if in America we have Starbucks, which is a big coffee company, and people go there to buy a coffee, and they used to go and they would sit down and they would drink it with their friends. Now, ordering it on an app, and they're not talking to the person who makes their coffee. They're not talking to anybody. They just come in and see their name, they grab the cup, and they walk out the door. So we're having so much fewer interactions, and it's not good for us. We're social beings. We need to have human connection. But the other aspect of this that's really important is that we've had, the introduction of remote work. We're basically people are spending a quarter of their work week at home. And some people are spending more than that. And we're seeing that they're not making up for it. They're not going out and seeing their friends. They're not seeing their neighbors. And so what's happening is that loss, that less of connection is finally catching up with people, and it's leading to anxiety, it's leading to stress, it's leading to mental health. And companies are now seeing it, and they can pinpoint the people that are working from home more often are actually having more healthcare problems, mental health care problems, and costing the companies money. So I can imagine some companies are going to say we need to do a better job of connecting people when they're in the office, which is what I'm advocating for, and I'm advocating for in my book very strongly, that leaders need to support this. But the other aspect of it is that fewer days at home is probably going to be a good thing, like no more than a couple days of work at home, because it's just proving that we can't make it up. You can't work 8, 9, 10 hours at home and then think you're going to go spend, 4 or 5 hours with friends and neighbors and make up for it. We're not. That's what the studies show.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, right? From the stats which you gave. Okay, right. Now, you were working in a dog eat dog environment, but your leadership skills were quite different. How was that?
So I worked in financial services, and that is an aggressive, very aggressive environment. A lot of the people that work in financial services are paid by selling things, selling a stock, selling a bond, selling investments. And so, people are very aggressive. It tends to be male dominated. But my orientation going back to the beginning of my career was to care tremendously about the people who work for me. I supported them in ways that made them feel safe. It made them feel like they had somebody who was an advocate for them, helping them grow in their careers, somebody who appreciated what they contributed and expressed it to them, somebody who would, I'm talking about myself here, but I would read a book over the weekend, then I would write up notes and I would type them up, and then I would send them to all the people that are working for me. And so people said, well, why didn't you let them read the book? And I said, well, I did already. So why force that upon people? Why not just share what I've already learned? And I know by doing that, I'm helping those people grow. And by helping them grow, they can feel that I care about them, which tends to be reciprocated. But also, I'm helping build their competency, their capability, so they're going to be able to perform at a higher level because I'm teaching them things that they didn't know. So these are very untraditional. It's like go out there and figure it out yourself. Go out there and get me. And if you don't do it, we're going to get somebody else to do it. That's sort of the traditional leadership theory, which is we're going to pay you. You got a job, and if you do well, you get to keep it. And if you don't, we'll probably find somebody else. And with me, I just said, look, I hired you. I think tremendously of you, or I wouldn't have. So now we're going to work together and we're going to do great things together. That changes the whole conversation. And what I found was that people that had been managed the old way, when I took over and started managing them, they were suspicious. It's like, why would you do it this way? And then they could start to feel that, wait a minute, this guy really wants me to succeed. He really wants to help me. And once people go there, they'll do anything for you. They will want to see you succeed because you've made an investment in them. So it's a very untraditional, but it's also what led to my first book and second book, Lead from the Heart. The second edition came out a few years ago. Ready for this? The first edition of Lead from the Heart, came out 15 years ago next month. And it's challenging the whole idea that we need to oppress people at work. And all of the science has been validated massively over the last 15 years, which is why Inc. magazine recognized me as one of the top 50 leadership and management thinkers, because they realized what I'm saying is so far ahead of where we have been and where we need to go. And I've been that voice for the last 15 years.
Yeah, I was very happy when I saw on LinkedIn and when you had put a postmark and when you were featured by Inc. magazines in 2025 as a top leadership and management experts. I was like, I was really thrilled. I was very happy. And I thought, okay, wait, let me congratulate him first. And quickly I typed it. Okay,
Thank you.
great, great. Now, how will your new book, The Power of Employee Wellbeing, how will it help decision makers and those interested?
Well, it's interesting because there's research out of Oxford University, and I actually got on a plane and went to England and met with him. He's an economist. And basically, what he's proven, Watson, is that simple questions of asking people how they feel at work really determines their level of contribution. So if people have strong positive feelings about their work experience, they're going to fully engage and put their heart into their work. And so in America especially, we use Gallup survey, 12 questions relative to employee engagement, and no one's ever taken it seriously. The numbers haven't improved in 15 years. Companies never took it seriously. Wall Street never took it seriously. But if you have one measure, which is to ask people on a regular basis in a pulse survey where you get the results instantly. So let's say you work for me and I go out to you and I say, let's just say that I'm HR, right? And I say, on a scale of 5 to 1, 5 being absolutely great, 1 being horrible, how would you grade your manager in terms of his or her interest in seeing you succeed and thrive and have a great experience at work? So if you score that a 5 and say, I love where I'm working, I love my job, I love who I'm working for, they can show that the productivity that you do in a week against all key performance metrics goes up. So let's say you have a bad week, get into a fight with your boss, or you have a bad week for some reason, and you say, it's a 3. Well, your performance is going to go down. They've proven this. So with engagement, employee engagement, it was always about companies wanting people to be able to put in more discretionary effort for no more pay. Like, we want people to work harder. That's what engagement is about. Well-being is about the psychological and emotional experience that people have at work. So there's a win-win there. So if I said to you, you work for me, and I sit down with you and I say, hey, Watson, I want to make sure you know that I am sincerely interested in your well-being, and I'm going to find ways to help you elevate it and keep it healthy. Are you going to go, I don't want that? You're going to say, thank you. Like, that's wonderful. You're going to do that for me, even at work? And I'm saying, yes, I'm still expecting you to do your job, but at the same time, I want to make sure that your well-being is high. And so I'm going to keep asking you questions about how's your well-being, right? Are you happy with your compensation? Are you learning enough? Do you feel that you have growth potential here? Do you feel you belong with the people that you work with? Do you feel a good connection? All of these kinds of questions. And as long as you keep saying you're happy, it's in my best interest as an employer. So your well-being is going up. And historically, companies said, why should I care about that? I don't care about that. That's on him. He'll figure it out if he wants to. That's not my problem. My problem is get to work and do your job. And I'm saying, no, if you actually support well-being, people will perform at a higher level. When they don't think you care about them and they don't think you really are concerned about, all you're concerned about is the work that you do and what you produce, and you don't care about the person as a human being, that's when people go, I'm not going to really give that much to Mark, because why should I? He doesn't care about me. Why would I want to go an extra mile for him? So it all boils down to just the simple truth that it's all about how people feel at work. And you can ask people very simple questions to determine it. And you can make real time changes. So if a whole team of people say, we work for a toxic manager, the next day you're talking to that manager and you're saying, hey, you're getting some really bad feedback from your employees, and if you want to continue in this job, you're going to have to make some serious changes. You're going to have to be a much more caring and supportive manager. I'm like, how great is that? So people now are going to be working, they're never going to have to work for somebody who's a tyrant, because there's measurements in place that in real time determine how people feel. So it's just very powerful, and that's why I'm advocating for it.
Well, it's quite useful what you're advocating for, is Mark, because in this modern age, it can help a lot of people, right? It's not only in the US, it's in Asia, even Europe. It will be quite valuable. Okay. What is your message for someone who is going through a tough time at work, especially in a place where corporate politics is dominant?
I think you have to protect yourself, is what, if you're working in a place that really doesn't care about you, is that what you're saying? That they just care about your productivity?
Yeah.
I think you have to make sure that you go out of your way to protect your own well-being, that you don't take it personally, that you're getting enough sleep, that you're eating well and you're exercising, that you're finding ways to at least offset some of the stress that comes with that. But I think that nobody should have to be really working in an environment like that. So I would advocate that I had a boss that used to say, Watson, that if you got
Hmm.
up 3 days in a row unhappy at work, the fourth day it's time to find a new job. So he says everybody has a bad day, everybody has a bad couple of days, but 3 successive days of bad days, it's time to go. So if you work for a company and they've got a manager who's horrible to you and they're not doing anything to fix it, you've got to find a way out of there, because life is too short. I really do believe that. That's not to say that if you have a reasonable person to say, hey, here are some ways that you could manage me more effectively, I would appreciate more recognition. I would appreciate just a little bit more demonstration that I matter to you. Like, you can tell people, this is what I'm looking for. And they go, are you kidding? Like, you're telling me this? I don't care about you. I don't care about if people give you that kind of a response, and they won't necessarily say it in quite those words. But if the next day or week you see no improvement whatsoever, they don't care about you. And I know that there are jobs in the world where people just have to keep it for their living, for their income, right? So for those people, I would say just come in and do your job and go home. Give no more, give no less. Do your job. Don't put your job at risk, but don't do more. And if you can leave and find something better, go do that. And if you can't, then you need to take very good care of yourself for as long as you're going to stay there, so that that stress doesn't take you down and make you sick.
Very true, because if I'm not mistaken, both of us have been in environments where we have worked with toxic bosses and where corporate politics has dominated. Okay, great.
Yep.
So, Mark, yeah. So, Mark, from your experience, any final message that you would love to give our viewers and listeners out there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that what I would like to leave your listeners with, Watson, is just this
Mhm.
idea that you know we're all from different countries, we're all different nationalities, we have different religions, we have different political views, right? And a lot of that divides us, right? You've got two countries right next to you that have a tendency to kind of do a little bit of this, India and
Mm.
Pakistan, and just this is just the culture of how we do this. But in our workplaces, um, we're all human beings, and we all need the same thing. And what we need is somebody that believes in us, somebody that wants to teach us, somebody that wants to challenge us, someone that wants to appreciate us, Somebody basically wants to love us, really, is really what it boils down to. So the traditional way of looking at leadership is we give people a paycheck and we give them a job. And if they do a good job, they get to keep it. And if they don't, they don't. They lose the job. And so the minute people start, they're always working towards proving that they shouldn't be fired. And that's just a very bad place to start. Because once you operate from fear every day that I've got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this to prove that I shouldn't lose my job because the boss is telling me that that's out there all the time, you're never going to get great productivity out of people. So I'm saying hire people well. Don't bring somebody on that you don't think is going to be able to do the job. And once you figure out that I've got somebody who's motivated, somebody who's talented, somebody who's skilled, then manage them in a way that makes them feel like that. Don't bring them in, hire them, say, you're going to love it here. It's going to be great. We think you're a wonderful candidate. We're going to offer you the job. And then immediately start managing them. Well, you need to get back to work. And where are you on this? And just, micromanaging and managing with fear and intimidation. This is how we've traditionally done it because we don't believe in ourselves well enough. We don't believe in our own ability to communicate to people in a way that says to them, I need you to perform. I need you to do this job. So the way we do it is we either yell at them, or if we don't yell at them, we're managing with some degree of stress. And it absolutely is against human nature to work well under that. We work well when we're actually thriving in positivity. So you don't have to overdo it, but telling people, hey, Watson, you did a great job today. Thank you for getting that project done so early. Hey, the report you gave me, just what I was looking for. Wonderful work. Thank you. What's so hard about doing that? We feel like we're having to reach into our own wallet every time we give people recognition, when in fact, it's the most generous thing you can do and it doesn't cost you anything. But when people feel that you value them and that you see their worth and that you appreciate their work, they will scale mountains for you. That's my message.
Wow, superb. Mark, thank you very much for
You're
taking
very
time,
welcome.
and take care.
Thank you. Lovely to see you, Watson. Have a
Absolutely.
wonderful day.
You too.